Hi guys, and welcome back to I'll Read What She's Reading. I'm Michaela.
I'm Reggie.
I'm Kennedy. I'm so sorry, guys. I just had the most biggest brain fart ever. And today we're going to be talking about books.
Who would have thought?
Really? We're going to be talking about books worth the hype, not worth the hype, and not hyped enough.
Mm-hmm.
I really love Booktok and the recommendations that I receive for them, but also there's some that maybe I don't love as much, which is totally fine. But we just thought we'd state some opinions about some of the books that we've read.
And if any of these books that we maybe say aren't worth the hype or some of your favorite books, don't get offended. It's just our opinions.
Yes.
And everybody likes to read different kinds of books.
Yeah. Different strokes for different folks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do we want to just get right into it?
Yeah. We're each going to give 2 books for each category.
Reggie, you had to do a teeth check.
I had to do a little teeth check real quick. I forget. If you guys haven't already, we were going to say this in the episode. I'm just going to say it now. Find us on TikTok if you're not already following us there. If you're enjoying our episodes on the podcast, like podcast episodes, you will enjoy our TikTok content. So
Very true.
come follow us on TikTok at What She's Reading Pod. I just had to, make sure it looked good. Because one time my pants were unbuttoned in one of the episodes. Literally, I was editing the episode. I'm like, oh, let me post this cute little TikTok. And I'm like, my pants unbuttoned.
SOS.
So anyways, got to do a little teeth check. Button check. Anyways, we good.
We're
good.
Yeah, are we starting
started
with
off.
worth the hype?
Yeah, let's do worth the hype.
We each take turn. Okay, go, Michaela. Let's hear it.
Okay, why am I always starting you guys? So much pressure. Okay, do I say both of them or just one?
Just one.
Sure, one, yeah.
This was hyped a lot for me on TikTok. I don't know if necessarily you guys.
Yeah, everyone's is a little different, but
The Cruel Prince.
Okay.
yeah, I've seen a lot about that. I haven't read it, but
Honestly, the first book was like not my favorite, but the 2 after, so good. So I think for me it was worth the hype. I almost didn't finish reading the series, but then everyone's like, just wait, just like be patient, read the next books. And I was like, thank you TikTok for telling me to read them, because they were so good.
and that's fantasy, right?
Yeah.
I have them all. I just haven't read them yet.
You should.
I love it.
Okay, Reggie,
I'll go look.
your turn.
Worth the hype. I'm gonna start with. It was really hard to choose one book from this author, but I would say any book. If I had to pick one, I'll choose The Housemaid's Secret, Frida McFadden. I see a lot of people hyping up her thriller books on TikTok, and I think they're definitely worth the hype. There are like unrealistic elements to some things, and sometimes I don't know, but they're just really gripping and like really good page turners, quick reads. So if you like thrillers, any of her books I think are worth the hype. They might not be to the scale that some other thriller books might be, but like I can't imagine anyone starting one of her books and being bored.
They're very fast.
Very fast paced.
And
lots of
free
plot
on
twists.
Kindle Unlimited.
Yes. So definitely worth the hype in my book. So
You're a thriller girly.
yeah.
Okay, my first one is Daisy Jones and the Six. There was so much hype on TikTok about this book, and obviously it was turned into a TV series, and I loved it. It's written in a very different format than any other book I have read, but I really enjoyed it, and I sobbed like a baby at the very end. It came out of left field. I was reading the book, and I was just kind of like, oh, this is really interesting. I like it. It's cool to see the story of a band. And then the last few chapters, I was sobbing. And I feel like the TV show did it justice pretty well. There were a few things that they changed that I didn't agree with. But after watching the TV show, I even feel like I loved and appreciated the book more. So Daisy Jones and the Six is worth the hype in my opinion.
Love it.
I'm next. Dance of Thieves. Worth the hype. 110%. Loved it. Loved it.
I really need to read it.
It's so good.
I found it on TikTok, and actually it's this girl, Lauren Roberts. She wrote Powerless. I have not read it before, but I'm really excited to read it. We're taking a little shout
on
out
YouTube,
for you.
we got that
She's
physical
the
book.
one that I saw on TikTok recommending Dance of Thieves.
Okay.
And she, I think, released this like a year after she recommended Dance of Thieves. So I think it's going to be everything I could ever want in a book. So I'm really excited. So shout out to Lauren Roberts.
Is that a series? Or is it one? Is it
It's
one off?
I think it's going to be a series.
Okay.
But she, this is literally her first book. So I'm really excited to read it. Anyways, she's the one that recommended it. And I was like, I have to read it. The tropes are just so good.
Oh my gosh, it's so good.
Anyways, I love that book.
You liked Dance of Thieves better than Bow of Thieves, right? At the end of Dance of Thieves had me screaming and chucking my book across the room.
Yeah.
It was...
Bow of Thieves was good, but I just loved
Me
Dance
too.
of Thieves a little bit more.
Me too.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay, that's all.
Okay. My other book I was gonna say, Kennedy might not agree with me on this one, but Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. I know I've talked about it on the podcast. I mean, my other one would probably be like Akatar or like something like that. But we talk about that enough on here. And I think the reason I would say Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow is because it's not what I expected it to be. I thought it was just like a romance book when I started it, because that's what I gathered from the
Not a
hype on
romance.
TikTok, but it's really not a romance. So if you just like a solid, like really good, like fiction read that's written very beautifully, then I think Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow is definitely worth the hype. It just like kind of blew me out of the water because I was expecting to really, really like it, but it just wasn't what I was expecting as like a plot, if that makes sense. And so I personally really, really enjoyed it. Like I was very pleasantly surprised by it.
I do think it's worth the hype, 100%. There was just like a few moments where I was a little bit bored and it kind of felt like it dragged on. However, those of you guys who played like old school video games when you were little, there's so much nostalgia because they talk a lot about those video games. And there's the other thing about Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow is there's a lot of symbolism, and I feel like it's a very heavily symbolic.
It's a lot to digest.
Yeah, I feel like I couldn't sit and read it like in one sitting. I couldn't binge it.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of people say they can. But I think it's worth the hype. Also, there's one specific section of the book, the NPC like it's in sections, and it's kind of cool because each section is written differently.
Yeah.
Would you say?
Yeah.
The NPC section of Tomorrow, Tomorrow, Tomorrow was absolutely my favorite part.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
good. So good. Definitely worth the hype. I agree
Yeah.
with you. 110%. This
All right.
book
Oh,
is...
you go. Sorry. You go.
Michaela wanted to move on. This
like-
book is a little bit different than really anything we all have read. And hopefully you guys agree with me that you think it's worth the hype. I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy.
Mm-hmm.
I've never read a celebrity memoir, and I really enjoyed it. I listened to it, highly recommend on Audible. She reads it. Just a really fast-paced story about her life, and it's interesting because obviously, Michaela, did you grow up watching iCarly? Okay, she's too young for that. Me and Reggie grew up watching
iCarly.
we grew up watching iCarly, and so it was interesting to kind of see like her journey when we watched her on TV, and
'Cause you don't know what's going behind the scenes most
No.
of the time in people's lives.
just really interesting. Not like the best book I've ever read, but I enjoyed it, and I think
Oh,
it
I
is worth the
really
hype.
enjoyed it, and she is a very talented writer.
She is.
And she talks about this in the book, but like she's like always wanted to be a writer. Like she wanted to be a writer before she wanted to become an actress.
Mm-hmm.
And you can just like really see that in her book.
For sure.
She's a very talented writer.
Yeah.
So love you, Jeanette.
All right. That was our worth the hype books.
Add them to your Goodreads now.
Now we're gonna do not worth the hype. Once again, these are our personal opinions, and we may not all agree on books that aren't not worth the hype, but there's a few of us that agree on some things. So
Don't get offended, because I know at least one of the books that I'm gonna say people are gonna be really upset about, but I'm gonna state my case when I'm gonna state
and
my
what
case.
resonates with you doesn't it always mean it's going to resonate with someone else, because we all have different life experiences and
It also
yeah.
it also could have been just like a case of like right book, wrong time.
Yeah.
You know, there's
Yeah.
so many things that go into it, so don't get offended.
Mine is they both die at the end. I knew the ending. They both die at the end. I didn't have to finish the book. I don't know. I don't like to know the ending, so that's what I literally didn't even finish the book. I had like 15% left, and I was like, well, I know where this is going. They both die. So I didn't finish it.
See ya.
Yeah. Did not finish. So
I have that book, and I remember telling you that I bought it, and your face was just it was great, and it's been collecting dust ever since because I'm just scared to read
I'm curious
it.
to know if you would feel the same way. Maybe it was just the right book at wrong time, but I mean, it's a very gripping title. Because you're like, oh, okay, why do they both die at the end? And I love the concept of the universe it's in.
Mm-hmm.
It's not fantasy, but I just couldn't connect with the characters at all.
Okay.
So
I'll have to read it and let you know.
yeah.
Maybe I won't finish it either.
All right. Well, my turn.
Mm-hmm.
So this book was like one of the first Booktok books when I was on TikTok that really like sold me on a book. I haven't seen a lot about it recently, but it was really big at the time when I started reading it. And the book is Alone with You in the Ether by Olivia. You have one of her books, I think.
Oh, I do.
Blake.
Oh, that's by Olivia Blake?
I think so. Let me see.
Oh, she wrote the Atlas 6,
Yeah.
right?
Alone with the
Oh.
Olivia.
Oh.
Olivia, is that how you say her name? Oliv.
That's different than Olivia
Olivia
Blake.
Blake.
Isn't it?
I think so. I don't know.
It was a very beautiful book, and when I first started it, I was like, I love this, but it was it was way too flowery. It was like, I remember reading the first chapter and being like, whoa. Like, I remember having my husband read it. I was like, read that. Like, tell me this is not the most beautiful thing you've ever read. But then it was literally like that every single page. Oh, it is the same?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was like that every chapter was just like this very, and I mean, it was beautiful, but it was almost just too much. I was like,
What is it about?
it's like a romance about, see, this is the thing, by the end of the book, you guys, I was just lost. There were so many big words in there, and I was like, wait, what did she say? Like, I had to reread so many things because I was just like, wait, what? So like I enjoyed like the first part of it, but then by the end of it, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is just like, it was just reading like poetry with like the most, think of like all the biggest words that you
Like
can
kinda
think
like
of.
Shakespeare almost.
Yeah, it
That
was
goes right
like,
over my head.
and I'm sure she, like, her other books are great. It just, and I don't want to say it felt like she was trying too hard, but it kind of felt like it was just way too much. I like couldn't even connect to like the characters or the storyline because I was just like, this is so flowery. And there were a lot of like good quotes in that book, but I was just like, it was painful for me to get through because of how fluffy and flowery it was, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I wanted it to be, I thought it was going to be a book that I would recommend to everyone, and I wanted to love it as much as everyone on TikTok loved it, but I was just like, this is so much for me. So
I'm interested to read, because I have the Atlas 6. I'm interested to read that book and see.
I'd be
I've
curious to
never
know,
read
too.
any of her
beautiful
books.
writer, beautiful writing. It was just a lot of beautiful writing that was like intense, and I was just like,
Maybe
couldn't
it
even
should've been
understand
a
what she was.
poem book instead
Yeah,
of, like,
I
a
couldn't even
book.
understand what she was describing at times because I was like, it was just so descriptive that a lot of it kind of just went over my head a little bit. But
Like the wavy, flowy,
yeah, it would be like literally talking about like
You're like,
one
ugh.
tiny thing for like a whole page, and I was just like, okay, wow,
I agree
So-
with you. It's hard for me to read books where it's very like almost too descriptive. Like it leaves nothing to the imagination.
oh yeah, that's
like
how I felt for
sometimes
sure.
I like to like imagine things how I want to instead of like this book was in the corner sitting upright and it
With
was
its-
orange
Yeah.
with red lettering. I don't know, like
Yeah. Well, and sometimes things went over my head because I was just trying to like get through like, okay, wait, when are we getting back to the story? It was kind of just all over the place for me. But I'd be interested. I really want one of you to read it. So
I
you can
have
tell me
it.
if you think I don't know anyone else who's read this book.
I have it
So-
on my Libby app, I think, as an audiobook. And it's on hold, so.
Okay. I'd be
To be
interested to know
continued.
your guys'
We'll see.
thoughts if you read it.
I mean, I'm not sure if I want to read it after
Yeah.
that reading review.
Sorry.
So.
You probably really, I don't know, you might really like it. But.
My book, one of my books, Not Worth the Hype. I'm not like scared to say it because I feel like everyone on TikTok loves it. And it was really hard for me to get through. It is Don't Come For Me, Song of Achilles. And here's the thing. It's written really beautifully, kind of like what Reggie was saying with Alone With You in the Ether. And maybe Greek mythology just isn't my thing. I felt like the story was extremely slow and like nothing really happened. The love story was really cute and the ending was absolutely perfect, absolutely beautiful. I was obsessed with the ending, but that was about 5% of the book, and the other 95% I was like, I can't get through this. I don't really enjoy it. And once again, maybe I'm just not a Greek mythology person, but I did not like it.
That's okay.
that's okay. I have not read it, nor will I ever be reading it.
Same.
It just doesn't sound like my cup of tea. And that's okay. I have so many books I want to read, so I got to be selective about which books I read,
For
you
sure.
know?
For sure.
So, hey, that's okay. No one come after her. She's
Yeah.
just stating an opinion.
I'm sorry.
It's not a
It's
fact.
valid.
I wanted to love it so badly, and like I said, the ending was beautiful. It touched my heart,
Mm-hmm.
but it was not worth the other 300 or whatever pages that I read.
That's totally fine. All right, my second one is, so many people might come after me too. Where the Crawdads Sing.
That was yeah.
And
Same.
that was really,
Mm-mm.
really hard to get through. Meaning, it was very beautifully written. It's just not for me.
We don't like
Yeah.
beautifully written books,
No.
apparently.
No.
Well, it
just
also
give it simple, straight to the facts.
Yeah.
I don't
I
know.
also just felt like I don't want to say the ending was a little abrupt, but it was just kind of I don't know. I liked how it ended, but I also kind of hated it at the same time. I just felt like it was definitely just. I mean, it was a good book, but I think definitely overhyped. I would say overhyped
Yeah.
for sure.
Yes, one of my favorites.
Yeah, I just wanted more at the end. And it was once again 5 paragraphs to describe what the what is it? Not a bog. What is it called? Marsh?
Marsh.
What the marsh looked like and smelled like underneath the moonlight with the birds chirping in the and I was like,
liked
girl.
I liked the movie more because I didn't have
Yeah.
all that descriptiveness, and I was like, this is just.
I feel
straight
like
to
the
I haven't
movie
seen
was
the
not
movie.
how I expected any of the characters to be like either. I expected a lot more from the movie, and
Actually,
didn't
I
love
can't
it.
remember.
I mean, the story, like, when I sit and think about, like, the plot and the storyline, it's a good plot and storyline.
Mm-hmm.
Just way
there's
too
just
long.
something. Yeah,
And I needed more.
yeah,
I agree with you, Michaela. See?
yeah.
I'm not coming for you.
Thanks.
Well,
Oh, no.
someone might come for a lot of people might come for me with this one. I don't know why. I've never seen anyone rate this less than like maybe 4 stars, but Things We Never Got Over.
Haven't read it.
I don't think I have either.
You guys probably will not want to read it after I give my review, but that book is just like so hyped on TikTok, and I read it and I was excited to read it. It was free on Kindle Unlimited. And it was just like, I think it's like over 500 pages. It's a romance. And it was like 400 pages too long, I think.
What romance book needs to be 500 pages?
I don't know. And this was the thing. The plot, I didn't really like love the plot. There was this underlying theme with like, if you've read the book, you know what I'm talking about. This isn't a spoiler, but like there's this little plot with like her sister in the book. And I just thought the plot with her sister was so dumb. It was
Is
just
it because
like,
that's who the second book is about, is her sister?
no.
Oh.
It's about the guy's brother, I believe.
Okay.
I don't even care to read the second book. I mean, no hate to Lucy Score, right?
Yeah.
It's weird
Because I think I've read another one of her books and I really liked it. I just felt like it was just kind of painful for me to get through, and there were some really like moments that I was like, oh, that's sweet. But I don't know what it was about that book, but it was just, I didn't really like very much about it at all. And I think it was just because the plot itself was just not, I don't really know. I wish I could tell you exactly what I didn't like about it, but it was just like hard for me to get through. I was like, okay. And then I didn't even really love how it ended either. So
Like, really, what romance book needs to be 500 pages?
None.
What goes on?
There was so many things that were going on. I was like, why was that necessary? I don't know. There were a lot of very cute like moments, so that's why I rated it a little higher. Yeah, it was almost a DNF. But at that point, I had already read so much of it that I'm like, well, I only got
Might as well finish.
300 pages to go.
Might as well do it.
200.
That's rough.
So that was rough. I just want to know what people like about it, because
If you like that book, please let us.
Well,
please
yeah,
let Reggie
please
know why
argue
you
with
loved
me.
it.
I
It's
just-
interesting because on Goodreads it has 4.2, 500,000
Yeah.
ratings.
So people love it.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
Do you think maybe it was wrong time to read the book?
No, nothing in it resonated with me like at all.
Because I don't know anybody.
Oh, also, I'll tell you one thing I didn't like about it. The very beginning of the book, I think it's just the way that things are described. It was like, and he was so hot, and he was just standing there looking so hot and so sexy and so hot. And I was just like, are you kidding? I just don't like that. I was just like reading this, like they first meet in like the first chapter, and I liked the banter, but it was just like the way they were describing each other. It was just like they were just like a piece of meat. And I know people probably really like that, but it was just like,
Sign me
the
up.
way that they were describing each other, it didn't give me any sort of emotion. I was just like, okay, we get it. He's really hot, but like, what else?
she wanted to get.
Like,
that
did
he
you guys
was-
ever see
she
This
wanted you to
One
understand he was
Princess?
hot.
Have you ever seen This One Princess?
Swan. Oh.
Do you remember that movie?
yeah.
And she's all like,
But what else?
what else? And he's like, well, what else is there other than like you're beautiful? And it's like, what? Anyways, that's just kind of how I felt. I mean, I liked seeing where their relationship went, but yeah, it was just a kind of, yeah.
Yeah, it's okay.
Fair enough.
I didn't get the hype.
Fair enough.
Probably won't.
I probably won't read it either.
Sorry.
But if we should read it, if any of us should read, well, we've all read these, but let us know if we're wrong. We'd
Oh, yeah.
love to discuss. Okay.
We love a good banter.
Sure do. Okay, my last book for Not Worth the Hype is Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney. Now, I know Normal People is probably her more popular book. I will not be reading any Sally Rooney's books.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm sure Sally is a wonderful person, but her writing style is not for me. I have never read a book that has more unlikable characters than Conversations with People. There was no redeeming qualities about any of them. It was and literally there was no point to the book. Like, it was almost felt like there was no plot. It literally basically started the same way, like it ended the same way it started. There was like no character development. I felt like it was just not for me. And literally the whole premise of the book, like if you read anything, like the description of the book is essentially the main character is having an affair with a married man. And so immediately you hate the main character. Like, she's literally having an affair with a married man.
Yeah.
And the only thing that was interesting is you really got to see the inner workings in her brain more so than any other book I've read. Other than that, hated every character, couldn't care less if they were happy or unhappy or alive or dead, for that matter. So I just don't think I will be reading any other Sally Rooney books. Just wasn't for me.
Yeah, I kind of felt that way about Normal People.
Will not be reading those.
But I think it's just like that
not
kind
up your
that,
alley.
I just
Not
think,
my
yeah,
alley.
I'm with you though. Like, I know a lot of people, like, it really resonates with them and they really, really love her books. I just think, I don't know if it's just like the plot or just the way it's written is just not my cup of tea.
No. Not for me.
All right. Next up is books worth the hype.
Ending on a positive note.
Oh yeah.
Ending on positive. Okay. I had a really hard time coming up with stuff. Not that there aren't books worth the hype. It's just some of the books that like I do really love are already like super hyped up on TikTok anyway. So I'm like, it's hard to pick.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick something that I've never seen on TikTok. And I read them like maybe 2 years ago. It's a series. Sorry everyone.
Series are better.
It's called Ever the Hunted, and it's right behind me.
Let me go add it to my Goodreads. I've never heard you talk about this. I'm so
Yeah,
excited.
So it's about this girl.
Okay.
Yep, and that's
Love
it. Just kidding. And her father dies, and she is hired to find the person who killed her dad.
Ooh.
And the person that is the suspect is her best friend.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Okay, wait, what did you say it was called?
It's called Ever the Hunted. It was really good.
Right now.
Really good.
Is it young adult?
Yeah. It's young adult. I made my I have
The series.
yeah, it is. I don't even have it on Goodreads. Like I read it before. It's like some of these books are before I like ever got Goodreads. So
It only has 1,800 reviews, like 1,857. So it's
not super popular.
an underground find for you guys who listen to our podcast.
It's very at least if it's not great, don't come at me because I read it a little bit ago, but I'm actually like considering reading it again. So
It sounds really interesting. I'm in on it.
I don't know if I'd rate it 5 stars, but I still really liked it. So I don't expect you guys to like come back and be like, oh my gosh, that was a 5-star book, but
It can still be worth the hype and not be a 5-star read.
Yeah. So
100%. Not hyped enough. I've hyped it up. I feel like we've hyped it up a lot on the podcast, but I don't really see a lot of it hyped up a lot on TikTok. And it would have to be one of my favorite books of all time, The Art of Racing in the Rain.
Like,
Hey, Michaela, you just read it. How did you feel?
I really liked it. It was really good.
Did you cry?
Yeah, I sent you guys a
I
picture
know.
of me crying. Do you guys not remember? I was in the car, and it was really funny because Cole's like, "What's going on?" And I was like, and so I kind of told him the plot, and I told him like where I was at the moment, and then when I finished, he's like, "So what happened?" So like he was invested too.
Yeah.
I know Cole wouldn't read it,
Yeah.
so that's why I was like, okay, telling him. And he
You
was
should
like,
watch the movie with him.
I
Me
should.
and
I
Kyle need
should.
to watch the movie.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you
it
guys
was
need to
really
watch
good.
it. I want to know your thoughts.
We tried to watch it one time, and you guys, our internet wasn't working at the time, so it kept buffering, and I was hysterically crying within the first minute of the movie. I don't know why,
Yeah.
but I think it's
It's
because I know what
very-
happens.
The ending
think
was so perfect.
Oh, so
So
perfect.
perfect.
And it's like one of the most satisfying book endings, I feel like. And also, I feel like a lot of people are kind of turned off by it because they're like, oh, it's about a dog. And some people, when you think about a dog book, you're like, because Winn-Dixie, like, you know what I mean? Like, not that those aren't good books. I mean, I haven't read them,
Oh.
but you know what I mean?
I felt every emotion. Like
It
there were
is
some
so
parts
good.
where I was so angry,
Mhm.
like so angry.
Mhm.
I was like, I cannot believe like this is happening. So it's just like, it's just really cute. It's really wholesome, and I feel like you'll feel every emotion, especially if you are a dog lover. And Reggie's not even necessarily. She doesn't have a dog.
I don't have a dog, so like I've never had one, so I can't like really relate to the having a dog aspect of it. But
Yeah.
I just thought it just made me just want to. I don't know. It just makes you just want to like hold the people in your life a little closer. It makes you want to just like live more in the moment, not take things for granted. I just thought the perspective, because it's I don't think we mentioned this in this episode, we have in the past, but it's written in the perspective of a dog.
Yeah.
And
So it's through
Wrecked
his
me.
eyes.
yeah, through his
Wrecked
eyes.
me.
Yeah.
Oh,
I have one
It's
more
so
question
good.
for Michaela, and then we can move on. 'cause I feel
Okay.
like we're talking about this a lot. Do you feel like the end justified how much they talked about car racing in the book? Because they do talk about like racing cars a lot.
Yeah. And that was like the the hardest part for me to get through it.
Right.
Is because there would be like chapters and they weren't super long. There may be like 1 or 2, 3 pages just about car racing. And I was like, all right. Okay. No.
Okay.
I feel like I still would have loved it without those chapters.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes it more sweet, but I feel like I would have been fine because, like, I like know a certain extent about car racing itself because it's popular.
Right.
And Cole, my husband, really enjoys it himself.
Okay.
And so he will tell me some things. So, like, I feel like I'm not completely in the unknown about it.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, okay, this is kind of boring. Like, I don't need to know a little bit of details about how this car driver did this in this race in 19 something. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But it was still good besides that. It didn't take up a lot of the books at all.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just like
Like the
little,
one element
little
that you're like,
percentages.
It is talked about.
Yeah.
But it is worth the hype.
It is worth it.
Mhm.
100%.
It gets worth the hype from all three of us.
Worth it. Big thumbs
Stamp
up.
of approval.
Especially
approval by us.
If you are a dog lover, it's
Yes.
like mandatory. You have to read that. I'm really trying to decide which 5 of these I want to talk about. Okay, I talked about this in one of our first episodes about my favorite books, and I never see anything about this series on TikTok, and it makes me so sad because the more I think about it, the more I want to reread it because it just, anyways, it's the Renegade series. I love superheroes. It's like one of my favorite things, and it was just perfect. The books were a little long. I wish they were, instead of like, I think they were almost like 600 pages each, I wish they were like closer to 400. But it's so good. It's got everything you could ever want in a superhero book. If you like Marvel, you'll love the Renegade series. And I just love it, and I never see anybody talk about it.
Yeah, it's on my list. I know something that we'll talk about later, but I'm excited to read it because I've read the Cinder series. Well, it's called the Lunar Chronicles, which is the first series she wrote, and I really enjoyed it. So I'm glad that you think it deserves hype.
I love it.
Because if it's not good, I'm coming for you.
I'm a little nervous about it.
Just kidding. I think I'll like it, especially because I liked her previous series, so I kind of know what to expect when it comes to that. Okay, it's my turn. Okay, I really want to look up what this book has rated. It's the Carval series. The more I think about it, just like the more I love it. For me, the first book was the worst book, and then it just kept getting better. So I just don't. I mean, I've seen it on TikTok, but I don't think it's nearly as popular. I think it's popular as some of the other books, but
I haven't seen it on TikTok.
Really?
You recommended it to me.
Yeah,
That's why
I think
bought
I've
them.
seen maybe one video about it.
I'm obsessed with it. I just love books that have like twists, and I never know what's gonna happen next. So, yeah. So I think I'm really excited for you guys to read them eventually. So,
I'm excited. I have all 3 of them. Wait, 4.
3.
3.
I have 2.
Oh, you have all 3.
I actually bought 2.
Awesome. I've had a hard time trying to think of one because I feel like, I don't know if I just read every Booktok recommendation that comes my way, but I'm like, what's like a really good book I read that not a lot of people maybe have read or heard about? And I wouldn't say these are like 5-star reads for me, but mine would probably be the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series, just because it's just a really fun read. The second book wasn't my favorite, but I really like the first and third one a lot. It's just like a young adult kind of like murder mystery type vibe, and I just think the way it's written is just really fun. Like, it's very entertaining because this girl's just like trying to solve this like case in her town, and you get to see like all of her notes that she writes down and how she's like making her little board of like who, what, when, where. I don't know. Some of it was a little predictable, but it was just a very fun, easy read.
I'm torn on what I want my last one to be. I'm gonna let you guys decide. Should I do a series or one-off? Or, okay, let me ask you this. Should I do a book that I think more people, that's niche,
Just
and less
say both of
people are
them.
going to...
Yeah, just do both.
Okay. First one, I'll make it quick. Michaela read these. We're going to get Reggie to read these. It's the Inheritance Games series.
Oh, yes.
I keep forgetting about that series. I do need to read it.
Michaela, the best way Michaela described it to me was kind of like Knives Out vibes.
Yeah.
Essentially, there's this old man, dies, leaves his
his-
fortune to some random girl.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like you solve these little mysteries. There's these two cute boys. And
Dashing boys.
Dashing boys.
Well, three
Mm.
dashing. Four.
Four.
Oh, yeah, I
dashing
need to
Four.
boys.
read. I need to read this.
And there's a new book coming out
I think it was November.
in
Or
November.
October.
There's a new book. So it will be
November.
a 4-book series. Very fun. Young adult. Quick read. Just a good time. My
Yeah.
sister-in-laws have read it and really liked it.
Oh, that's good.
Sweet.
So, and then the other one I'm going to recommend is a very niche read. It's sci-fi, like hardcore sci-fi. But I've never seen anybody talk about it. I think it popped up on my Goodreads one time. I was like, yeah, sure. It's called Dark Matter. I can't remember the author. It's so weird and I loved it. I freaking loved it. It's like this sci-fi thriller. You might like it, Reggie, but it's unlike anything I've ever read, and I finished it like 2 weeks ago and I still think about it every day.
That's
It's very fun.
interesting.
Very fun. Just very different. Just a very different read. So if you're looking to get into something that's like way different, I'd recommend Dark Matter.
Love it. We hope you guys added some of these to your good reads, your TBR. We want to know what you guys are reading, so keep us posted.
Okay,
Oh, did I skip you?
No,
No.
I
Oh,
was just
sorry.
staring into the souls of everyone.
Also, yeah, if you guys didn't know, if you're like listening to this on the like Spotify, Apple Podcast, whatever, we do have a YouTube channel where you can watch us if you want to see our face.
We do not know how to act. Actually, I should not speak for them. I do not know how to act in front of a camera. So please don't judge me if I'm doing.
We're behind the
something
camera kind of people. So
weird.
yeah. But
We
check
have-
out our YouTube.
Yeah.
It's done surprisingly well. We haven't
I
even
know.
like tried to promote it, but it's
Here
been
we are.
fun. So
Yeah.
yeah, are we ready
Yeah.
to jump
yeah,
into?
I'm really excited.
So we decided. I mean, someone else can. I've been talking. You guys want to?
No,
You go.
You go.
Oh,
Yeah, go.
okay. So we decided that for one of our future episodes, maybe the next one, we'll see, we are going to recommend a book to each of us to read. Is that it?
Yeah. So we basically are just taking turns
Choose.
recommending or choosing a book
For each of us to read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm choosing one for Michaela to read, Reggie's choosing one for me to read, and Michaela's choosing one for Reggie to
Yeah.
read.
Yeah.
I'll start off. Michaela, your book is Renegades by Marissa Meyer.
Oh my gosh, yay! I'm excited. I knew that because
I wanted to choose something that like I
Well-
think you're gonna like and that's very within like your realm of what you like to read.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's been on your TBR for a while, and I'm gonna push you to read it.
yeah, you
I
are.
might even reread it with you. We'll see.
Okay.
Hopefully it's as good as I remember.
Thanks, Kennedy. I'm super excited.
Anytime. I'd like text updates. I think you're gonna like it because it's like the first book is like Hunger Games meets superheroes.
Okay. Super stoked.
Hunger Games and
together.
superheroes had a baby.
Super stoked, excited, all of the feelings.
Good.
All right, Kennedy, should I tell you that your book? I'm a little
Already.
nervous about this one because it's. Oh, here we go. We got Renegades right here. She's ready to begin.
I'm ready.
This is just a book. I read it so long ago. But it is a book that like I think of from time to time, and when I am reminded of this book, I'm like, this book was so good. I don't even know if Michaela's read it. Your book is, I gotta see who it's by. Hold on. Because if I tell you the book, you'll know what book it is, but you won't. I cannot even remember the author's name. The Book Thief
Oh.
by
okay,
Marcus Zusak.
I actually think that's on my Libby to like.
Oh, is it really?
I think it's sitting in my Libby right now. Yeah.
It's a, you know what, do you know what it's about?
Isn't it like Holocaust vibes? Like based in the Holocaust
Yes.
times?
It is like, I feel like it's kind of one of those, I mean, it's an older book. It has over 2 million ratings on Goodreads. But, so I know it's a little more like historical fiction, but I have a feeling you're going to really like it. If you don't, I won't be offended. But it's one of those books that like I read seriously so long ago, and I am not someone who really loves like historical fiction.
Yeah.
But It's just a very beautiful story, and there's also a movie of it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I think you're gonna like it.
I'm in. It's
But
literally
I know
sitting in my
you-
Libby.
It's something a little different maybe from what you have been reading, so that's why plus Kennedy and I literally read, I feel like, all of the same books, so it was hard for me to choose one.
I'm
But
excited to read it.
I'm excited for you to read it.
Yeah.
I actually don't
So-
remember if I've read it or not. I might have.
I don't think it shows that you have read it on
Well, I
here.
might have read it in middle school. Because some of those books
Are these
were
kind of-
required. I didn't get my the Goodreads app until like last year. I'm kind of nervous.
Yeah, I'm
excited. What is it?
Michaela's
Yeah.
gonna recommend
Okay.
to me.
I'm gonna recommend. No, I'm not recommending. You have to read it.
Well, yeah, I'm going to.
The Selection.
Oh yes, I do want to read the selection.
I think. I just want you to read it. So
Yeah.
that's what you're gonna be reading. You can borrow
Yeah.
it from me right now if you
Yeah,
want.
Michaela's library is right behind us. She's got all the goods right here.
Now here's my question.
Mm-hmm.
Just the first? You're talking just the first
Well,
book,
I'm
right?
telling her just the first. If she wants to continue,
Oh yeah.
then she can.
Well,
But if
yeah.
she
Okay,
doesn't
well, I expect
want
you to read the whole entire series before the next time we record.
Goodbye, family. Goodbye, work.
I will not be talking to you guys for the next 2 weeks.
Just joking.
Yeah. So that's the book.
Sweet. I'm excited.
Yeah. I'm like nervous, but I'm curious to know your thoughts on it.
No, that's one I've wanted to read, so I'm excited about it.
Yay.
This is gonna be fun. So then we'll come together
We'll
in a
give
future
our
episode
reviews.
and
discuss. So stay tuned.
We kind of want to make this like a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, so we'll do in a couple months. We'll probably do it again and
Yeah,
switch
and
who we're
switch it
choosing a
up.
book for. So
And maybe one day we'll let you guys decide. Give me a recommendation.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Oh, I like
Let
that.
our followers decide.
Yes.
So
well, now that the AC is kicked on, maybe that's our sign to close this episode.
It's like you guys
So-
have been talking long enough.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks so much for listening. We will see you next week. Please. Well, we already talked about our TikTok and Instagram.
Yeah.
So we don't
but
need
also
to.
follow it or like leave a rating and review if you haven't
yeah.
already. That helps us
We
out so
love
much,
reading them.
and it makes us happy. So
yes, it does.
We'll see you next week.
bye.
Bye.